Hi guys, sorry I had to troubleshoot on my volume. I hope now you can hear me.
Very clear.
Loud and clear.
Great, yes. Stella, we have troubleshooted with Stella. I think now it's okay. Let me just take you in a nutshell because my volume was really down. I'll just move fast. So Urban Ubuntu, we are a cybersecurity firm in Africa. And we have presence in 9 countries in Africa. We are headquartered in Johannesburg, South Africa, and we have in the countries where we have presence, we are in Angola, Zambia, Tanzania. In East Africa, we are in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda. We are in Nigeria, and we're in Ghana. We offer cybersecurity solutions. We are a partner. We work with vendor partners. We work with OEMs. That is KnowBe4. For the purposes of this presentation, we'll touch more on KnowBe4. KnowBe4, they offer a security awareness training platform. We also work with LogMeIn. LogMeIn, we collaborate with them to sell collaborative working tools, online tools. For email security, we have Proofpoint. For website security, we have Cloudflare. And we also work with Darktrace to offer a cybersecurity artificial intelligence kind of solution. Then we work with TokenX to offer tokenization, and Ever for security audits. And then Essentire to offer an NDR. So to cover on governance, risk, and compliance, GRC. So with the GRC, think of strategies and frameworks that help an organization align IT with its business objectives. When it comes to organization, let's talk about organization A. They're a profit-making organization. Let's say they're a fast-moving, they sell FMCG goods. So they decide to launch a web store or a website. So what do? Maybe, when they want to increase their revenue, they say, let's have this strategy where we are going to be selling our products through a web store or our online website. So with ICT security, they will find that now they're putting an organization into a risk. They'll be more vulnerable to a data breach. To compromise on this, so what will ICT do? They will recommend having a firewall, having a website security solution like Cloudflare. So that way, it means that they both will. Business is able to increase its revenue, and ICT is able to protect the organization data. So think of GRC as a way that organization work, different departments come in to work together to ensure that the running of the business is running effectively. They are not running in silos. So how does GRC work? So when it comes to GRC, now I'll start with governance. With governance, it's think of rules, think of policies that a company will come up with to support its business goals. In terms of security culture, security control, and physical, in terms of security control and security culture, they both complement each other. When it comes to security culture, think of people. Think of the users in that particular organization. How are they? Do they value security? Are they trained? Do they practice good cyber hygiene? Are they aware of phishing emails? Are they aware that they're not supposed to be clicking on unknown emails and they can introduce malware to the organization? Do they know that? And what is the organization doing about it to educate their users? Is there a security awareness training program like KnowBe4? So how often do you train your users? It can be monthly, on monthly basis. It can be on quarterly basis. It all depends. If you're starting, you can start with monthly basis, and then with time, you can decrease the frequencies maybe to quarterly. And then how do you measure it? Think of phishing tests, phish your users, and see. And with time, you see how you decrease on the click rates. As you educate your users, you continue phishing them and see if they're becoming more aware on cybersecurity threats. So security control will supplement security culture. Think of security control as systems, technology systems. Think of passwords, think of file permission, firewalls, antivirus. Think of any solution that is implemented by ICT to ensure that the company is protected. Then it also goes to physical security. Are there locks in your server rooms? Do you have cameras? Do you have guards? What do you do to ensure that you're also protecting your organization physically when it comes to company's data? So risk is measuring the likelihood of the organization being breached. How vulnerable are you? You're gonna measure how vulnerable are your systems, how vulnerable are your users. If your users are not trained, then they are vulnerable. If you're not patching, if you're not patching your softwares, they're equally vulnerable to a data breach. Then how do you analyze? That is now risk. How do you analyze? Now the risk department comes in to analyze on the likelihood and the percentage of the likelihood of a data breach occurring. So, and threat. In terms of threat, think of the malware or your data, losing your data due to a breach. So compliance, it applies to third parties. A company will have to comply with its country's laws and regulations, or their regulations in their particular industry. In Kenya, like we have the cybercrime. How about regulation following on what communication authority regulations? Business continuity. It will be important for an organization to come up with frameworks and procedures in case your organization is breached. So do you have a plan? Like, for example, if you lose your data, do you have backup? And what is the disaster recovery procedure that needs to be followed for you to resume back to your core business and to resume back to doing what you do as an organization? So who employs GRC in an organization? When it comes to employing GRC, this is a collective measure. All employees in an organization should be part of it, all from leadership to finance managers to legal teams, ensuring that you're complying to laws and regulations in your country, to IT teams, ensuring that they procure they seek for the right solutions to protect your organization, to HR managers who are in charge of employees' sensitive data, which they store. And of course, now we'll have the risk manager, who's the umbrella or the compliance officer. In large corporates, they do have risk managers who now become the umbrella, and they're in charge of the whole GRC processes and implementing and analyzing and auditing. So what is a GRC tool? So a GRC tool will enable you create, coordinate, and policies and map them. So for this presentation, as I'd mentioned earlier, so we are going to be joined by KnowBe4 KCM manager, channel manager. He's called Simon Dani. He'll be able to demo a GRC tool from KnowBe4. So KnowBe4, as I'd mentioned earlier, they do have a platform that they offer security awareness. They also have Phishing. They have a KCM platform, which Simon will be able to demo. So I'm not.
Hi.
You can check. So great.
Hi guys. Can you hear me? Okay. Is this speaker volume okay? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Actually learned quite a bit off those slides. Actually, it was quite interesting. What I'll do then today, guys, is I'll turn my camera off and I'll show you the platform. But is there anything in particular that you'd like to see from the console that we have today from KnowBe4? There's actually 3 modules in one. So we have compliance management, we have risk management, and we also have third-party vendor management as well. But is there anything in particular that you guys would like to see from a GRC console, or would you like to do just do a shallow dive on what we can do, how it works, and how you can start to keep up to date with the requirements inside the frameworks in order for you, when a compliance audit comes around, to see how it is done and how easy it will be and make your lives better than if you're using sort of spreadsheets and Outlook calendar reminders and ticketing systems? Is that okay? Is there anything else you need me to cover at all?
I would say phishing.
So, okay, I only look after the KCM console. If you're looking to do security awareness training or PhishER, then you'd have to book another session with one of my colleagues, because I only do the GRC console.
Yes, Simon only does the GSR platform. If for phishing, I can organize for another demo from another colleague of Simon from KnowBe4. He'll be able to, she or he will be able to take us through phishing.
Okay.
Okay, you can proceed, Simon.
Okay, perfect. So let's just go straight into the console. I do have some slides, but we can cover over some things. Okay, so let me just share my screen. So we're inside the platform. We'll start at the compliance side of things, okay? And we have a list of managed templates that is a free list of templates that you can have access to inside the console, okay? So these are all free of charge. This is an a la carte menu. So, you know, there might be local region framework templates that you're working towards. We obviously have some of the main ones in here that you may be familiar with. Obviously in the UK, we have GDPR, we have HIPAA, we have ISO, we have NIST in here, we have PCI, we have SOX 2s, and then we have like the UK data standards as well. Some of these frameworks also have guidance added into them. So anything with this asterisk in there says that we have a guidance in here. So instead of you having a third-party consultant coming in to say, okay, well, this is what that actually means, that we've actually added the guidance in there to help you write the control to meet the requirement, okay? So if there's something that you're working towards that's not on this list, we can customize and build it for you, at no additional cost, because you have your own CSM, which is your own customer success manager. So is there any questions at all on any of the framework templates at all? Any questions?
None from my side.
No? Okay, perfect. So this is KCM basically, and the way we license the product is per admin user. Okay, everyone who gets a license gets their own additional dashboard. The dashboard here is actually built up of the control tasks that have been dedicated out for you to actually complete and meet in that particular framework. Okay, so I can see here, this is my active dashboard, what's completed, what's due today, what's past due, what's waiting management approval, and what needs my approval if I have the authorization to do so. The color code system is pretty easy here as well. Anything red is a control task that's been delegated to me, which is now more than 7 days past due. Anything this orange color, depending on your screen, means it's less than 7 days past due. This is defaulted out the box at 7 days, but you can change those settings to whatever you like, okay? Anything blue means it's either due today, that week, or comes around the corner, and anything that's aqua blue means it's waiting for the approval managers or the internal auditors, if you have them, just to say, we've checked the evidence, it does meet the requirement, we'll close it down. When we get audited, we can reopen it, and we know that this evidence meets that requirement, okay? What we also have here is a global dashboard. When I speak to customers and organizations and say, okay, a quick question to everybody, if you were aligning to or working towards a particular framework, and I said, how much of that framework has been completed? What are the control tasks that have been met, and what are the control tasks that have been are still waiting to be completed? How quickly could you get that information back? Lots of people will say, it will take a while. I'd have to open up support tickets. I'd have to drill down into my spreadsheets, etc. Inside the console, whatever the name of the framework that you add as a scope, let's just say this is my ISO. With a click of the mouse button, I can see my scope health, my gap coverage, my requirement breakdown, but more importantly, the control tasks that need to be met that month as well. I can start to drill forwards, and I can also start to drill backwards to see if any of these control tasks have been missed behind. So whatever the name of the framework, let's just say this is my GDPR. It will say my scope health, my gap coverage, but more importantly, the control tasks that need to be met and completed for that month going forward. Okay, is there any questions at all on the dashboards? Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Is there
Faith
questions?
Wamaida might have a question.
Okay.
Faith Wamaida.
No questions, did you say, sorry? No? Okay, so where your journey will start inside the compliance module, okay, so everything will start out as a template, okay, and you can have any of those templates from that list, or you can start to create your own custom build ones. We can do it for you, or you can create them in here, okay? So we have lots of these frameworks. I'm just going to choose ISO because it's a familiar one with everyone that might know, okay? So all I would do is I create the actual scope itself, and I can see here a list of the requirements. People who work with NIST and ISO, they might know and be familiar with a control that we call a requirement. So a control and a requirement would be, you must have security awareness training in place, okay? So these are the lists of all of the requirements that we have. Once you've done that, I can convert it to scope. So once I can come from here, my journey will start in the requirements tab. Okay, so what will happen is that I will now need to do my gap analysis or my self-assessment or my statement of applicability. So all you would do is come in here and you'll start to answer the questions. Have you met this requirement? Yes, I have. I've met this one. This could be partially met because you have to do this every quarter or every half a year maybe. And this one here could be not met. And there could be numbers of reasons of why you've not met these requirements, okay? From there, you can start to see your self-assessment progress. You want to try and get this as far green as possible. But now I can actually start to work and manage and maintain, excuse me, sorry, which ones I want to work on. So I can go in here and go, let's work on the ones I've not met. And I can click on the requirements. And now I can start to leave notes to say why. And every time somebody comes in here to leave a note, it will say who it was, the actual note itself, and also a date and a timestamp. From there, we've given you the guidance to help you write the control to meet this requirement. Okay, this will help you write the control. But because we haven't met this requirement, there could be a potential risk to your organization. I can send this straight to my risk register. It will pull through the risk name, the description, the consequences, categories, subcategories, and then I can start to build up my inheritance risk score. Okay, and I can start to work on that as well. That's just one of the actual scenarios or workflows that you can do inside the GRC console. Okay, another one would be that we've actually met this requirement, but there's a lot of overlapping inside the consoles and a lot of overlapping in the frameworks. You're probably familiar, if you're working towards a framework, that you're using the same piece of evidence a number of times. If you're using a spreadsheet, it's very hard to copy and paste and hyperlink in the back end from one control to another in a template framework spreadsheet. From here, I can start to pull my list of controls up. If I have a control that meets that requirement as well, let's say security awareness training, I can find my control. All I simply need to do is tick that box, save it, and now this control also satisfies and meets this requirement. I don't need to do anything else with it. I can save myself hours of time having to copy and paste, hyperlink into different sections inside the console. Okay, so that's one scenario. I can also now start to delegate these control tasks out. So instead of you putting Outlook reminders, chasing people, telephone calls, emails, I can set up a control task. All you'd need to do is create the control. In the control description will be your statement of compliance. And remember, the guidance here will help you write this. Once I've created the control, I can see the controls in here. Once I jump into the control now, I can start to create that task schedule. And I have three options. I can do three options here. I can do a one-time task, I can use the effective date range, or I can put this on a frequency and say, we must do our security awareness training every quarter, every half year, every year, etc., depending on what you need to do. So I can say this is going to be done every year. This will be a drop down of the users that you're going to start to delegate these control tasks out. So I can say yes. I can also put approval managers or internal auditors or quality managers, depending if you have them in there, to say, let's just double check Simon's work. Let's make sure it does meet the requirement. We're happy for it to go into the console. We close it down. Once we get audited, we can reopen it and we'll know we've actually met that requirement. Okay, so let's say we're going to put the approval manager on. We have a second level if I wanted to. I can say this is done every year. Okay, well, do it every year. And now I can also do the due date. When does this need to be completed? What day of the month does it need to be done? Let's say it needs to be done on the March the 1st. It pulls through my task name, my description, and then how do I want the evidence to be uploaded? I can do a Doculink or a file upload. We give you the ability to upload into the console unlimited data. Okay, it's all housed in Amazon Web Service, so there's no charge on storage. Okay, or if you want to do it outside of the console and use a Doculink like a Google Drive, a Dropbox, a SharePoint, etc., you can point that evidence to that location. Okay, so I'm going to schedule the control task now. And what will happen is an email notification will go to that user to say, you've been given an annual task or a weekly task or a quarterly task to do. Once that cycle goes round, the console automatically sends out another email reminder if it's on a yearly basis, 6 months before, a month before, a week before, a day before, every day afterwards until that task has been completed. So you don't start to fall behind on those control tasks that actually need to be met in order for you to stay compliant. Okay. Once they come in, you can start to build up the control. This is done every year. You'll start to see who that user is, and you can start to see who the approval manager is. So now, this is the second half of actually completing the control task. That person will come in. They'll see the statement of compliance, the control, but more importantly, the evidence requirement is not yet met. You've asked for a document. I'm going to create the link. If it said file upload, I can simply upload the document and I can browse my file locations. Okay. On this occasion, we're going to do a Doculink. So I'm going to call the control information security. I'm going to take the ID out. Now, this is where you're going to house that piece of evidence, Google Drive, Dropbox, SharePoint, etc. Okay. I'm going to have to use Google because I don't have any drives. And now you can put what version you're on. This could be version 1.1a, say, or version 2021 for this year, stroke 2022 maybe. In the description could be a control diagram, a step-by-step guide on how you're meeting and satisfying the actual control requirement, okay? Once I've done that, you can see this is the control name. I can check my link. This will go to Google, but this will take it to your supporting evidence page, okay? Happy with what I've done. Now I can complete my task. On my dashboard, it was blue. I complete the task. It now shows green. On the global dashboard, it will show aqua blue. So I don't need to chase anybody. I can go into the global dashboard and I can start to see it's sitting on that aqua blue. It's with the approval managers or the internal auditors. They'll get a notification to come in, have a look at the evidence. They'll check the link, take me to Google, but this will take you to your housing that evidence. This looks fine. Happy with this. I'm going to approve it and I save it. But if the approval manager isn't happy with the evidence, they can say the link is broken, uploaded the wrong documentation. I can say this is insufficient. I can kick this back. If you can see that there. Kicking back for reasons. That will be in here as a note. That will go from satisfied to active. That will go from awaiting approval to open. And then the whole scenario will go back round again until they are happy with the evidence inside the console. On this occasion, I'm approving this. I save it. That goes from awaiting approval to approved. This is approved is now closed. And now satisfied. I can also check this on my global dashboard if I wanted to. And this is where I get that ROI because I want to make sure my dashboards are more greens and blues and yellows and not reds because I'm starting to fall behind. On that next cycle, you can just sit back, look at the dashboard, make sure they're all green and satisfied, and they're not reds and failed, because you're going to start to fall behind. I know that's a lot to take in, but is there any questions so far on that work scenario and how you start to set up those control tasks? No? Okay. So what we've also got here, this is quite a good product inside, is that you can map a control to a requirement, and you can map a requirement to a control. Okay, so if you've got multiple frameworks and there's a lot of overlapping, what you can do here is go to your controls library, search for my control. Let's use security awareness training as an example. Once you start to build the controls up, and if people ask you, how do we meet this requirement in ISO, PCI, GDPR, UK Cyber Essentials, etc., instead of you searching file locations, spreadsheets, document locations, etc., I can go into my console, go to my controls library, I can search for the control security awareness training. I can see that we do this every year. I can see who looks after this and who's assigned to it. I can easily get the evidence to say, well, we use KnowBe4. How often do we do it? We do it every year. I can also see if there's any documentation to relate to, this is our results from the last test that we did. But I can also see that this control is mapped over to 2 frameworks already, ISO and CIS. So what will happen is, if I go to map to requirements, we'll start to populate all of the requirements that are remaining outstanding inside your scopes. If I start to search the control name, security, it will populate anything that has security in the name or the description. If I go one deeper and start to type in awareness, it will pull through anything that requires security awareness training. So I'm working on PCI at the moment. I can meet 12.6, 12.61, and 12.62. I also have 2 scopes that require security awareness training in CIS. I can meet those requirements as well. I've just met 5 requirements in less than 10 seconds. That side of the console will save you hours of control mapping. Is there any questions on that at all? No? Okay, so at the point of audit, when you're going to get audited, what you need to do is you can give the auditor a free license if you wanted to. I can go into my metrics report. I can bring up my framework. And now we're going to be sitting where the auditor is, just like we're doing now, because I don't know if you're going to be able to have auditors come on to your customer sites. But what I can do is, this is my entire framework for ISO. Instead of me screen sharing and putting Outlook calendar reminders and trying to show them this is when it was actually completed, I can now go through here and say, okay, this was closed successfully on the 7th of December. This was on the 4th of October, 16th of February. This one we do every quarter. It was also closed on time. But what I can do now with the auditor is actually go into the control task. I can show the auditor our statement of compliance, but more importantly, I don't have to dig around in file locations to show how we meet that requirement. I simply click on the link. This will take me to Google, but this is where you're housing that piece of evidence. I can start to get the audit done in half the time, because everything I need is on the control task. When it was completed, the statement of compliance, but more importantly, the supporting evidence on how we meet and satisfy that requirement. And that's basically KCM on the GRC tool on the compliance side. Is there any questions at all? That's basically just the compliance side. There is 2 other modules. There's risk management and there's third-party vendor management in there. But I didn't know if you wanted to see the full product or just the compliance side so far.
Maybe I can go first. I hope you can hear me. That was really nice. Okay. Majority of us, speaking for myself, we are more on the hands-on cybersecurity, hacking and all that. So this was a steep learning curve. I've learned a lot. And just curious, in case one would like to introduce it to the organization, is there any course on KTM?
On KCM?
KCM, that is there any tutorial or anything in case one wants to learn more?
Yeah, there's lots of videos. I can send you some videos as well on how it works, on how you set it up, the reasons why. I can put something together and then the organizer can send it out to everybody afterwards. I'm sure there's going to be sort of follow-up notes. I can put some links. There's YouTube training videos on there. There's lots of material on there if you wanted to know more about KCM. Does that answer your question?
Yes, you have. Thank you. There's somebody in the comment. Janet is saying the vendor risk management sounds interesting.
Okay, I can, if everyone wants to see it, I can show it very quickly. Is that okay?
I believe it is, yes.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, let me share my screen again. Okay, what we also have here very, very quickly as well is policy management. It should be really called policy acknowledgement, but what you can do here as well is that you can start to create campaigns as a policy. So let's say that you already all have a company handbook and everyone's working from home now. So we've had to update the working from home policy. What you can do here is create the policy as a campaign. You can force that out to everybody and you'll be able to see very quickly all of the people that have acknowledged and read and understood the actual working from home policy, and all of the people that haven't will be in here as well, and you'll be able to nudge those users. You can actually remove them off the internet or the network to say you can't go back on until you've read and understood the working from home policy. Okay, something that we have in the console as well, which we've imported from the awareness training platform as well. Okay, I won't spend too much time on there, but it's a nice feature. So risk management, what we have here is a risk wizard. This is the wizard from NIST 800-30 that we incorporate into the console because some people that we work with, they don't have some sort of formal risk register. So if I go to advanced, excuse me, sorry, is that these are the actual categories that we have: business, environmental, financial, etc. So if I wanted to look at the risk, I can pull the arrow down. This will give me the description. If I wanted to pull the actual the risk to the register, I can pull the green slider across. So I can start to go through the different categories and go, okay, let's have a look at the next one. Flood at my backup facility, hurricanes maybe. We don't really get those much in the UK. I can come in here and I'm going to grab craft phishing attacks. Okay, it's something that everyone should be familiar with. Once I go through there, keep going through. Now, this is where I can start to search my master risk list. This is where I can import risks via CSV. If you guys have risk registers that are on Excel spreadsheets or some other format, we can import it into the console for you, okay? And then you can start to create those risks as well. You know, COVID-19, big risk, we're mitigating it from working from home, etc., which I'll show you afterwards, okay? Once you've gone through the wizard, if you wanted to, I can confirm the risk I'm adding today. I can confirm this here. Now, what will happen is that you'll start to build up your risk register. These are the risks that I've already had from the wizard, the business environmental, but I can also add my own subcategories as well. Custom ones, US, UK, ISO, PCI, vendors, etc. Okay. Once I start to put these risks in place, I need to put controls in. Okay. So if I just look for the last one I've done, I need to find it now. So bear with me 1 second. I'm looking for one that's mirrored so I can show you better. Here you go. So this one here, there's a warning sign here and I can see that it's mirrored. So if I click into the risk, this is what you can do to set the risk up, and this is what you can do to update the risk. So I can come in here, I can change the risk name, you can put the description in here, you can put your own consequences. I can use my categories that we already have. So this is compliance maybe. The subcategory, this could be work health and safety or whatever you want to put in here, okay? From there, I've got my risk status. So I can start to go in here and say, this is a triggered risk, an accepted risk, or today I'm going to put a control in place to mitigate against these craft phishing attacks. Then I've also got the ability to tag this. This can be sort of like the needle in the haystack to say, I'm looking for a certain thing for my risk, so I can start to tag it. I could say this could be for all staff, it's a craft phishing attack. If we got hit with this, it could have a financial impact in money, in pounds, or euros, or rands, etc. You can put whatever you want in here, okay? Then we need to build up our inheritance risk score. We use the likelihood times the impact, which is 13 by 13. The likelihood of the risk happening is a craft phishing attack. It's probably going to be likely, almost certain. The impact, depending on how bad the actual attack is, it could be major, it could be catastrophic. Okay, that will build up your inheritance risk score. Once I save that, this will be my risk. And I can see here, the main thing that stands out is that the inheritance mirrors the residual until I start to put controls in place with a treatment score to get that residual score down. Okay, so I have two options to do here. I need to get this residual score down. So I can use the controls I already have in my compliance library. So a good way to mitigate against these craft phishing attacks would be, surprise, surprise, I hope you're all shouting out security awareness training, but do I have a control? This is the control. I do have one. And all I simply need to do is map this over. But then I need to put a treatment score. The treatment score is unique to you guys on how you want to see fit to do this. It could take it down to 50%, 25%, etc. You will have your own CSM, your customer success manager, to work out this, how we import the system from what you're using until we use the treatment score that we're using. Okay, so I'm just going to keep this as 5. I accept that control. And now what you'll see here is that I can start to build up these controls. The control is security awareness training. The treatment score is 5. 5 from 169 will take that residual score down to 164. Okay, so the controls are taken from the inheritance to get the residual score down. Okay, once you've done that, if you don't have any controls that you can map over, I can start to create the control. So another way to mitigate against craft phishing attacks could be strong authentication on your passwords. So I'm going to create a new control for passwords. The control description could be we update or change every 3 months, say. Okay, I'm going to put a treatment score, let's just say 100 to make the maths easy. Create the control. And now I can see here that I have 2 controls in place. One's a treatment score of 5, one's a treatment score of 100. 105 from that 169 inheritance score will get that residual score down to 64. Once you start to build the controls up, now I need to sort of say, okay, well, who's going to be in charge of this risk or this control? So I can click into the control. Same scenario again. I can actually go in here. I can create a task schedule. I could say this is the IT manager. We need to do this every quarter. We do it every 3 months. And I want you to update the evidence via Doculink or a file upload. Once I hit that, a control task will go to the IT manager every 3 weeks, or sorry, every 3 months to say, we need to make sure we've updated our passwords because that's how we mitigate against the craft phishing attacks. Once that's in place there, you have a risk management dashboard just to make it even easier for you guys. So you can start to see inside the company, where are your biggest risks? I can start to see my top riskiest tags if I'm using that tagging system. You have a 5x5 heat graph. You want to try and get these as far to the left-hand side as possible. And then you've got your risk category overview as well. If you want to pull data from the console, you have advanced reporting. If I go into my reports, here's one I prepared earlier. I can take that data, I can mine it from the console, and if you're using Power BI or any other reporting software that you want to take this data from, you've got the ability to take it from the console. And that's basically the risk management module very, very quickly. Is there any questions at all?
I can see there's none at the chat. Maybe you could just let us know the pricing model in case somebody in the webinar is interested in signing up.
Okay, so let me share my screen again. So this pricing is available on our website, okay? The way we work the pricing is per module. I've only showed you 2 modules, okay? So we have silver, gold, and platinum. Silver is the compliance, so that will give you the dashboards, all of those framework templates, and the ability to do the control tasks. Gold will give you the compliance and the risk, so that will be the 2 modules I've showed you. And platinum will give you the compliance, the risk, and the vendor management. I haven't showed you the vendor yet, okay? The only thing you lose is a module. You still get your own personal CSM, your own personal customer success manager. They will onboard you, they will train everybody who's using the console platform, and they'll also support you for the life of the platform, okay? The pricing you see here is in dollars, US dollars. This is for 3-year pricing, and it comes with a base license of 5 admin users, okay? You have to work out the local exchange rate on here, but what I've showed you is the gold, so that will give you the compliance and the risk, and it's $16,000 for 3 years. Is there any questions on the pricing at all? If you'd like to add additional licenses, you can do this throughout the term, and then we'll co-term them. But this pricing here, depending on how many extra users you want to add in, is $1,700. Any questions? Sorry. Is that someone with their mic off?
Yes, I think that's enough. Thank you so much. Maybe Christine can take over from here.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Okay, and as you had asked, Stella, someone you wanted to know about pricing, and should you require pricing and any further conversation, we are a local partner with KnowBe4, so you can always contact me. I'll add my contacts in the chat. So if you require this solution, you can contact us. And then, of course, we can follow up with the conversation with KnowBe4. And Simon will be there also to do another demo. Yes. Okay. So as per we had discussed that there was someone who asked whether we could do a phishing test. I'll just show you a video. And then maybe we can also organize another session for another KnowBe4 colleague can come and demo on a security awareness platform and also take us through phishing.
Christine, wondering if it's a hit, you're quiet.
Sorry, Stella, I want to share a video.
Okay.
Yes.
Kim thinks that her defense-in-depth approach to cybersecurity will prevent phishing attacks. What Kim doesn't know is that 77% of ransomware attacks bypass email filtering solutions. And
sorry, I don't know what has happened. Just wait a minute. I think my network.
Okay, maybe because of time, because I see it's already 8:09, you could share the link of the video on the chat so that we can make sure we put it under the YouTube description. In case there's anything else, you can maybe let us know. I want to hand over the session to Eve or Laura to conclude.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I've seen that Simon is leaving. I think it's been a great session, and it was great to see what you guys presented today. And yeah, maybe Eve, you have anything to add?
I think not much really. At least we've learned something around the governance today, and I appreciate that, Christine and Simon. So we look forward to more, and I hope we can plan the next one, which is phishing. Maybe Patricia, do you have something to say?
Thank you guys for the wonderful session, and I'm glad to see so many people and familiar names. It has been a wonderful one.
So I thank you, Patricia and Laura, and thank you everyone for making time to attend this session. We are looking forward to see you more next time, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. I have a good evening ahead.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you,
again,
Stella.
Christine.
Thank you, Stella. Thank you. Thank you, Evelyn.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.